This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, in today's session, what we are going to do is like we are going to continue with what we did yesterday. Okay, what we were trying to understand yesterday is like as part of migration, migration does not start from migrate phase, right? It has got a lot of other dependency areas where we need to focus on discovery assessment. And then even after migration, there are a lot of activities that we do to go and optimize and secure our environment. And we discussed about how these four important pillars come together for successful migration: tools, people, methodology, and process. And we talked about what are the different phases, what are the different tools that are there in the market, how does an architect go and choose a particular tool, comparing it with other available tools in the market. They will understand whether it is having complexity in the network level, firewall level, agent or agentless, what kind of coverage the tool provides, and how much successful criteria or success ratio the tool has got. And based on that, a migration architect will propose a particular tool for a particular migration scenario. Then I also helped you with understanding what are the business drivers or the justification area why we should migrate a particular customer's environment to Azure platform. And I also explained about the timelines that is needed in order to complete the migration. It's not just about uh, migrating a particular application or server from point A to point B. It involves a lot of other understanding. We need to understand functional areas, non-functional areas. We need to understand their security requirements, the industry compliance need, and then what are the different business process we need to follow, and the ITSM process that we need to uh, uh, go across. All these things are making a big definite decision stuff. And we also talked about the different 6 R's, right? The strategy available on migrating, rehosting, replatforming, and then we talked about repurchase. Okay, so we talked about all these 6 R's, which are the strategy for each of the migration. So for each and every workload, we will group them into a particular category. And once after we do this, what we generally do is like we go and have some phases done. When I say phases, see, in any environment, we have to go and deal with the non-production environment first. We cannot go and migrate the production category systems at the first. We have to go and migrate the test environment, dev environment, QA, and then the non-prod environment has to be migrated first. Once we see a very good progress and once we learn all the required lessons and stuff, then we go with the production grade migration. And even after production grade, if there are some mission critical system, then we go with that mission critical systems at a very later time. So we will plan for phases of migration of our workload. We will not directly go and touch our mission critical systems or production gate systems. We will just go with the test and the non-production environment first, and then we will go with the phases, right? And as part of the migration for each of the workload, we can undergo certain best practices. Okay, this is not the complete list, but based on my experience, whenever I do some migration of servers, I go and look at all these aspects so that I have some higher success ratio in getting the migration successfully done. So these are some best practices which you can follow as part of your migration approach. Okay. And the next thing is like I gave you some idea based on my experience. I used to get some errors as part of the migration, and this will give you a kind of idea where to check and what to check when the migration fails at a particular stage, right? So this is a good starting point. This is something which everyone should have to understand and logically think what might be the problem when a particular error happens at a particular percentage, right? Okay, so yeah, this is what we discussed yesterday, and today we are going to see a complete demo on the migration. Okay, when I say migration, first migration that we are going to see is on okay, the first migration we are going to see is on AWS to Azure. So we yesterday, okay, we saw the migration from one region to another region using ASR, and I showed you how to deal with that particular stuff, right? So we saw the migration from Azure, my Azure to Azure migration, that is from one region to another region. And as part of this, we saw some different options. We went through the test failover first, and then we did the what do you call? We did the actual validation, maybe like what when I say validation, user acceptance testing, system acceptance testing, and all those performance testing. We did all those things, and then we have to go and do the actual failover. And as part of this, we also had some option to go and reprotect if in case needed. I'll just show you that visually because I did not do anything on that. Okay, it should be there. Okay, so we had this site recovery. We did the replication from one region to another region using this option. And you can see that it is still healthy. And I'm talking about these options on the top. We still have this test failover, and then disable replication. I'm talking about these options on the top. So once after we completed the validation, before we go and do the failover, we have to go and do the cleanup, right? Clean up the test failover. When you say cleanup, it goes and cleans up the test VM that it got created, the storage, the backend associated resources, Azure resources. It deletes all of them. Okay, and then we have still these options: commit, resynchronize, change recovery point. So these are all options which you can utilize when the customer or when the application team says that I am not seeing some data, I want to have one more resynchronization completed, or I want to change the recovery point to a later point or the previous point so that I want that particular data back. So you have these options to play around. You have the options to play around with resynchronize, which you can help to do one more synchronization. And you also have the option to change the recovery point. When I say recovery point, you are going between, see, the replication is happening continuously, right? If I go and click on that, it will show me what are the different time periods that are available in the list here. See, it has got 546, 541, 533. These are the most recent 5 checkpoints that I've got, or the restore point that I've got. And this one is the crash consistent recovery point. Crash consistent means the machine will be yeah, 1 second, the machine will be coming offline. I mean, when I say offline, it will not be powered on, but when you do a app consistent migration or replication, you will have exactly the same data what you had in the running machine on the source side. So we saw all those things, okay, and yeah, so we have this disable replication option at the very end. Okay, you have the disable replication, and uh, you have to disable the replication, and also we have this commit option. If you do the commit option, then that means the migration is totally completed. You don't have you have no options to deal with later. So this is the overall procedure, okay, when you are doing a migration. This is the migration step by step options that you get with any migration. Okay, either you use a third party tool or platespin or Zerto or whatever. So these are the steps that are involved in a particular migration. Now when we do a migration between cloud to cloud and on premises to the cloud, we have little more additional complexity involved. Okay, so what is that complexity that is involved? So we need a helper machine on the source side to copy over the data. Okay, we need a source machine. So I've just taken some sample copy here. This is more on the VMware side, but still like it is applicable for your Azure also, sorry, AWS also. Let me try to, sorry, I should have, okay, fine. So if you look at here, I have some set of machines running on my source side. This source can be anywhere. It can be VMware VM or physical machines or running machines running on other cloud like AWS. So what we need to do is we need to have one server created. This server can be a virtual machine or it can be a physical server. And what exactly this machine is going to do? It is a kind of helper machine for your migration, and we call this machine as a configuration server and the process server. So it does two different role. What does the two different role here? configuration, it collects all the configuration information about the servers that we are migrating. And the process server role, it can be on separate machine also. For example, if you are having hundreds of machine getting migrated from your data center to cloud, you cannot handle 100 servers migration using one process server. You might have to have multiple process server in order to migrate multiple systems from your on premises. So you can have one configuration server and multiple process server in order to do parallel simultaneous migrations. Okay, I'll show you where exactly the option is in order to add more process server. Okay, and if you look at the port numbers, it is pretty straightforward. Okay, it uses 443 for the information to be collected, and it uses 9443. These are the only two ports that it uses inside the source environment. Inside your AWS or on-premises data center or on-premises VMware environment, it uses this port. But then when it comes to actual data channel, copying the data between the source and the destination, you just have to open 443. 443 is mostly open in most of the customer environment because like it is HTTPS secure port number, right? The HTTP secure port number. So it is the only port that is needed on the public internet facing. So it can be on your VPN or it can be on the public internet, but this is the only port that it is needed to copy the data. For the data channel, it is the only port that it is needed. But for looking at the configuration information on the data, non-data plane, you just need a two port, but that is only within the source data center. Now we'll have to set up this configuration server or the replication appliance. Microsoft provides two options. They provide a ready-made appliance which is coming pre-installed. If you have a VMware environment or a Hyper-V environment on your source, you can download that VM and then you can import that VM. They give it in a OVF format, Open Virtualization Appliance format. You can download that VM and you can run that, spin up that VM in your source environment. That is one option. But we are going to see the most complex one. We are going to create a new server and then install these roles like the configuration role, the process server role, and we are going to create a server which will take care of centralized management of all the source environment system. Plus the process server is going to catch the information from the source to the destination. So this process server will do data copying, the cloning and the catching, the compression, encryption, all those data related activities will be handled by the process server. Okay, so now let's go and see this visually how it works. And if in case you have some VMware environment or Hyper-V environment, you don't have to install the agent. Azure agent, which is the mobility services agent, is not needed on all of your machines. But if you are migrating physical servers or some third-party cloud servers, you might have to install this agent on all the machines that you're migrating. But if you are using VMware or Hyper-V, you just need to install that appliance on the source environment on the vCenter. Automatically the vCenter will take care of the VMware agent, and the Hyper-V agent will be leveraged for accessing and copying the data. There is no additional agent that is needed in your VMware form or in your Hyper-V form. But when it comes to third-party cloud or physical servers, then definitely you need to install the mobility services agent. This is the agent which will capture the source information and copy that to the memory and copy it over to the Azure platform. Okay, we'll see this in live demo in practical. So I'm going to create a couple of machines in my AWS environment, and let's deal with that. Okay, I'll launch a new instance. Okay, I'll just call this as a Stan Web Server 1. Okay, what was the name of the server? Okay, this is CN, right? That's fine. So I don't want to conflict with that. I'll call this a Stan Web Server 01. I'll have one machine created as a web server on the source side. This is on the AWS. So I'll create a new key. Okay, I'll call this as Stan North Virginia December 2022 key. This is the private and public key which we use for authenticating the systems in AWS. Okay, like your Azure virtual machines, we have AWS EC2 instances which can be authenticated using username, password, or the key pair that I'm generating here. So I'll just go and generate this one. Okay, download, and then I'll use any existing security group. I don't want to create something new, otherwise it will keep on adding more security group. Okay, I'll just create this small virtual machine on my source side. This is the VM that I'm going to migrate. Okay, this is one of the workload that I'm going to migrate. But I am going to create one more server which will act as a helper machine for your Azure. Okay, so it will do the configuration role as well as the process role. I'm just going to create one more server that will be acting as that. So here I need a machine which is little configuration wise, it should be a little higher because it is going to do a lot of data transfer, a lot of roles. Okay, as the name state, I'll just call it as configuration process server 01. Okay, just for my understanding, I'm calling it as configuration process server 01. Okay, it can be any name. Okay, just for my understanding, I'm giving it a meaningful name there. That meaningful name even only I can understand because it's like CFG configuration, PRC process, and server 01. Okay, here I'll create it with T2 and then I'll stop the machine and then I'll upgrade it with some higher capacity once I do the actual migration. Stand December 2022. This is what I created now. Yeah, sure. So now going to this security group, I'll use the same one, the default one. And then okay, so here it's a little tricky because we need to copy the data from the source machine to destination. So I'll go with 100 GB. Okay. Okay, fine. Because I have to copy that source machine, one of the web server, right? So that capacity has to be there on this configuration machine because the data is going to copy over this process server. This is going to act as the catching machine. Compression will be done here. While the data is getting copied over, this machine will do the compression and the data will be very small. Okay, so process server will take care of that catching, compression, and the encryption of the data when it traverses across the internet, or when you're doing it on the VPN. The data is already secured. It is going through 443 HTTPS. The encryption will be done by the process server. Okay, now we are getting that two servers ready. Okay, let that initialize. Meanwhile, I can just go and delete these things. These machines are going to unnecessarily cost us. Okay, I'm just going to delete these things. I don't want these machines anymore. Yeah, I can just delete that. Okay, maybe I can create one more server that can act as a what do you call? We are also going to see database migration also today. Okay, we'll see how to migrate a database from your on-premises server to Azure database. That is also one more demo that we will be seeing today. So I'll use this machine for that. I'll create some stan db server 01. So here I'll just go and choose an image which has got the database pre-installed. Okay, this one is fine. SQL 2019. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, I'll give some higher capacity because this is going to be a database server. Okay, I'll just give some username and password. Okay, looks like one of the machine got deleted. The other one is still pending. Okay, let me go to the SQL Server settings. Here, SQL authentication I want to enable. Okay, Azure Key Vault is fine. I can just use public internet also. That is fine here. Okay, this is where I have to careful. Okay, so it is giving 1 TB by default. I don't want to give 1 TB and all. Okay, I want to reduce it to 16 GB if possible. Yeah, and then same here. I want to reduce the, see, in a database server you have this data partition, log partition, and temdb partition. If you have seen database servers, it has these three partitions into separate drive. Okay, I'm just trying to reduce that. By default it will take 1 TB. Okay, if I'm giving that, then there will be a lot of cost associated and I will eat up my free capacity here. Okay, I'll just go with this smaller size now. Okay, 16 GB is fine. Okay, no license. Okay, that is fine. Okay, think this should be okay. Management is all fine. I'll just create it. Okay, let this get created. This itself is 13 Indian rupees per hour. Okay, let that continue, let that get created. Meanwhile, let's refresh here. Okay, both of them are initialized and ready. Now I'll just log into this web server. I'll connect to this. Okay, let me map the key that we have generated, and let us generate the password. Okay, this is the password for my source machine. So this is my AWS environment. So I've got a AWS web server. I've just named it as Stan Web Server 01, and the username is administrator, and this is the password. Okay, I've got a configuration server on the source side. Even if it is your VMware environment or on-premises environment, you should have one more server there also. Exactly same steps we need to follow there. Okay, now let me cancel it, and then I'll just copy the IP address, and then let me log in to this machine, and we will quickly prepare this machine like how we did yesterday. The procedure is almost going to be the same. Only thing, you will have one more server that is sitting in between that will act as a configuration come process server. Oh no, no, this is my AWS, right? Administrator, and this is the password. Okay, so we are doing it from the very scratch. Okay, we are just trying it from the bare minimum setup. Okay, we are doing it end to end. Okay, let this machine get logged in. Meanwhile, I can just go and generate the credential here. Okay, let me get the password, same procedure. Give the key, decrypt the password, copy the password, and have it for our use. Okay, now we have that. Okay, let us check here. So it's loading. Okay, let us go and enable some role and folder and files so that we have something to verify once after the migration is complete. Okay, AWS machines will be very slow because like we have just given 1 GB memory and 1 CPU. It is pretty small, but yeah, this is okay for our demo here. Okay, let it load. Meanwhile, I can just connect to this machine also, the second machine that we are going to deal with. Let me log into that. So I've got two instances created, two virtual machines created in the source side. This can be your AWS or Azure, sorry, your GCP or VMware. It can be any source location. The procedure is going to be the exact same.
Stan, in this AWS, that instance is cost applicable or it's free?
T2 Micro is free, but whatever I'm just going to change now, it's cost applicable. It will cost me somewhere around 500 to 1,000 rupees for this demo. That's fine. Okay, so
Okay.
otherwise, like the demo will
No,
take.
if you delete within an hour, will it be the same applicable or it's not?
No, T2 Micro, it is available for 750 hours, but I'm going to
Okay.
change this to some M4 large or something to fasten our migration. With 1 GB
Okay.
and 1 CPU, you will not be able to complete this lab today. So it will
Okay.
take a lot of time. And again, there
Okay.
is a minimum prerequisite for your configuration process server. This server needs some minimum amount of CPU, memory, and disk. You cannot just do with 1 CPU and 1 GB and all. So
Okay.
it needs
Okay.
at
Got it.
least 6 CPU, some kind of 12 GB. But I'm not going to provision that much, but I'll just
Okay.
provide some moderate level. Yeah, let's do
Okay.
that. But as I said yesterday, you can first complete the migration demo within Azure so that you understand the full-fledged process. And once you are clear with the Azure Migrate tool and the steps involved, then you can get into these other cloud-to-cloud migration and little more complex options. Yeah. So let me get inside this. Okay, let that log in. So here I'll just go in disable the firewall. I'll disable some of these enhanced security options, so that this doesn't stop us. Okay, done. So now I'll just go and add some roles here. Before that, maybe to make this more meaningful, I'll just change the server name. It is looking Amazon EC2, those things, right? So stan web server 01. Okay, let me restart. Before restarting, should I do something? No, I think this is fine. Let it restart. Same thing, I can do it on the other server also. Okay, let me copy the IP address of this machine. Now let me do the same on the other server. Okay, go to this machine, go to the server, disable the firewall. This is somewhat okay. I mean, it's responding. So this is fine. This performance is fine for us now. But I'll increase the size after the first reboot so that we have a little more higher configuration to deal with the migration. Okay, this is all now turned off. Now let's go and change the name of the server. So I'll change this name to configuration. In AWS, it doesn't change automatically like your Azure. Okay, in Azure, you have that name changed within your operating system when you give some name on the console, Azure console itself. But here we have to go and change it. Configuration process server 01. Okay. Okay, let it restart. Okay, so now let us go and log into the first VM. This VM should be online. Is it 178? No, this is 82. So we can just log into this VM first. Now the name should have already changed. Yeah, stan web server 01, the name has changed. Now I'll go and install some role on that. Okay, meanwhile, I'll also log into the other VM. This is the password for that. Okay, name has changed here as well. Okay, let that log in. Now I'll go and enable the role of the server. Okay, this is the web server, right, which we are trying to migrate. Okay, it's loading. So this one server, we don't have to worry about the capacity really. It can be as small as you want. But if you have more capacity, which is good, you can deal with it a little quickly. Even if you have got some GCP or DigitalOcean free subscription, you can try the same there. Okay, the procedure is exactly the same. Okay, let that get completed. It will take a minute. So now here on this server, okay, we are already done with that, right? So now we have to go and download that um, execution file and install it. And I think meanwhile, let me wait for the system to get completed. Okay, let this get completed. Okay, now what we need to do on the Azure side for this migration, we need to have certain things kept ready. So what are that? So AWS to Azure. So we need to have few things kept ready on the destination side. So now on the AWS side, we have got one server which we need to migrate. Servers to be migrated has to be chosen, and we need to have one server at least for configuration server and process server, but we can have more than one process server. If you have multiple workloads to be migrated, you can create more servers on the source side. This is on the AWS. So on the Azure side, what I'm going to do is we need to have certain things ready. We need to have definitely we need to have an active subscription. We already have it. We need to have one resource group. Okay, we have created it already. I've just named it as stand resource group 01, something like that. Okay, and we can create some RS vault, recovery services vault, for the replication to be targeted on the destination side. So here, let's go and start doing that. Okay, I'll use the same recovery services vault. So here, what I'm going to do now is, instead of replicating from Azure to Azure, I'm going to do from other cloud. Okay, see here we have option for Azure virtual machine. We have got VMware, we have got Hyper-V, but we don't see an option for physical machines or other cloud, right? What we can do is we can try and choose a different option. Let's see. So I want to replicate VMware and physical machines to Azure. So this option, second option. Okay, select this. Okay, it says infrastructure has not been set up. Exit this flow, and then they are asking us to go and create a infrastructure readiness and then prepare the replication. Okay, let's go and do that. So here it will ask like what are the different things that we need to do. Okay, I want to discover, assess, and migrate a particular server. Okay, so here I can directly go to this option, or I can get started with the home screen. So here we already created this particular project for Canada to US migration yesterday. But now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create one more project. This will be for AWS to Azure project, migration project, something like that. You can just give some name. So first thing, you need to create a migration project. Okay, here definitely I cannot do it on the private. Yesterday we tried doing the private migration because it was from one Azure region to another Azure region. We were able to complete that using the Microsoft backbone. Now definitely this has to go through the public backbone because it is two different cloud provider. Okay, if you have a AWS site-to-site VPN or Azure site-to-site VPN established, then you can choose that from the drop down, and you can do it securely if your organization needs it. But by default, the migration is going to happen in an encrypted way. This process server is going to encrypt the data, and the data will be sent over HTTPS only. The data is somewhat secure, but if you want to still enable VPN and then migrate it over that, it is possible. Okay, now we have created a project. So go to the resource. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So let's go back. So here in Azure Migrate, so go to the project that we created. So here you have to select the correct project, and first it will ask us to do the discovery and the assessment. Okay, then only it will give us the option for replication. Let's click on the discover option. and then I'll say, what are your machines virtualized? It is asking us the question. Okay, I will say yes with VMware or Hyper-V. If it is AWS or GCP or any other cloud, you need to choose other option, not the physical one, but they are grouped together. Okay, I need to select the physical or other option here. Okay, AWS, I have to select this third option, and it is asking me where you are planning to migrate. If I'm planning to migrate it to a particular region like East US or whatever, I can just select that location. Okay, and it is saying confirm that the target region for migration is East US. Okay, I'm just saying yes. Okay, I'm going to do that. So this is where you have to be careful. If you're doing a VMware to Azure migration, select the first option. Hyper-V to Azure is second option. Any physical server to Azure is third option. Any other cloud to Azure is also the third option. Okay, click create resources. Now it will complete the discovery part, or like the discover phase initialization. Once this is done, it will give us a option to download a particular image or a particular software. Okay, so what we have done now, we have created a project in Azure Migrate. And then complete the discover phase. I'll show you how the discover phase works in reality. Okay, there are a lot of things that we can do. I'll show you a sample example. How do we do a discovery and how do we get those data organized? I'll show it today. Okay, so complete the discover phase. Now, yeah, it is done. Okay, let it show us the option. Yeah, now it is asking us, do you install a new replication appliance or you want to add additional replication appliance? I'm just going to install a replication appliance. Okay, click on this option. So it will give us the option to download the configuration appliance here. Okay, it is telling us you need to have the 2016 operating system minimum. Okay, for the configuration server. This is the server which we are talking about, right? We need a configuration server which will be acting as the replication appliance for migrating the server from your source to destination. Okay, we need to do this. We are going to use this machine. So this is the definition for that. Okay, let me, yeah, this is fine. I'll just put it somewhere here. Okay, now I'll just click on this download option. I'll copy this link address and let me go and download it on this machine, which is going to act as the configuration server. Okay, generally, in general, it's a good practice to have a specific service account created for your migration. Okay, so if you have a Active Directory environment, or if you have a centralized LDAP environment, you can go and create that account in that. But here it's all in work group, right? So I'll create a local user for the migration purpose. I'll show you how to do that. I think most of you know how to create a user and all those stuff. So it's a user, but I'll be using that user for migration purpose. That is why we call it a service account, migration service account. Okay, because if we are using our own account, we cannot share it with others, right? If you have 3 to 4 people doing the migration, then you cannot share your credential. So always we have to use a common service account. So I'll just call this as migration service. Okay, MIG migration service account, something like that. Okay, we can give some number also. Okay, 01. So I'll just call this as migration service account 01. Okay, I just given some credential for that. Okay, I don't want to change the password. Password never expires, and I'll create this. Okay, I have just created the service account. So I'll make a note of that here. So this is my service account, migration service account 01. Okay, let me also do the same on the other machine also. But yeah, before that, I'll just log in and start downloading this. sorry, it just copied only that thing. Okay, let me go and copy the link again, copy the link address. See, if you go to the guidelines, it will show you the capacity requirement. Okay, it will be huge for sure. Okay, I can just show you that. Okay, I think it's better to go and change the size now only. Okay, it's going and downloading the installer. Okay, so you can see that happening on the right side. So it's downloading. Okay, migration, Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Unified Setup. The name it is called as Unified Setup because the installer is for all three things. Okay, it will have the configuration server installable, process server installable, and the mobility agent. All of them are in this one single unified setup. So we are downloading one tool, but using that one tool, you can install more process server. You can install the agent from that itself. So let's do one thing. I'll just increase the capacity now. Okay, it's downloaded. Meanwhile, what happened to this one? It is also done. Okay, we don't have to change the size of this VM. This VM is fine. This is the VM that we are planning to migrate. But if this is also good capacity, it will provide you good bandwidth for data transfer, and it will be much useful. But again, that's fine for our demo here. I'll just change something on this source machine. So today I'll just add some different wording. I'll just call this as okay, let's go with some different color. AWS to Azure migration demo. Okay, fine. I'll just save this. This is enough. Okay, so in order to verify that, okay, so I think yeah, it should work. Okay, we can also go and verify that if needed. So this is the stand web server. This is all done. Okay, we don't have to do any other changes as of now. So on this VM, we have the installable downloaded, but we need to get the machine size increased. How do we increase the size of the machine here in AWS? Go to that machine, power it off, stop the instance. Currently it is T2 micro, and I'm just going to change it to some higher size. Okay, that is fine. It's disconnected. Refresh it. Okay, now the machine is available for, it's still stopping. Okay, go to the actions and then go to the instance settings. So the change option is still not there. Okay, let's stop. Go to options, actions, instance settings, change instance type. Go and change it to something little larger. Okay, I'll go for maybe T2 extra large, something like that. Or ST, it is currently T2 micro, so I'll just go with T2 extra large. AWS T2 X large config spec. T2 X large 4 CPU, 16 GB. That is fine. Yeah, that is fine. T2 extra large apply. Okay, I have just increased that. Okay, let me power it on. Start the instance. Okay, instance type change successfully started the instance. Okay, while that is going on, we can also add the service account on this machine also on the Stan web server. Okay, L user, MGR. I'm just opening the local users and groups. Okay, you can also go and open it from your control panel. I'll create a new user here also. I'll just call this as with the same name. Okay, just to avoid confusion. Migration service account 01. Migration service account for, okay, that's fine. This is enough. Just given the same password never expires, create, close, done, minimize. Now we can log into the other VM. Let's see the configuration size now. Okay, it's still pending here, but yeah, let's give it a time. Okay, fine. It's running. Okay, let me just copy and try again. Ah, okay. After the instance size changed, the IP address have changed. Okay, so that's fine. So let me copy this password. So they might have migrated the VM from one hardware to another hardware on the backend. Now it should be super fast. We have given, so it is, I mean, it will change now. Okay, this will get refreshed only after the OS is loaded. Currently it is showing only 1 GB, right? It will change now. You can check it in your system info, or here you can just say system info, and then here you can check it quickly. Yeah, it has changed here also, 16 GB. Okay, so it is all changed, 16 GB, and then you can also go and change it. Yeah, you can see that also. So now you can also check it under your systems manager, sorry, task monitor. Perfect, you got the 4V CPU here. Okay, all done. Now we are good. Now we can just go and trigger that installation of that tool which we have downloaded. It should be in the download section. Go and trigger that. Microsoft Azure Site Recovery Unified Setup. And if you select this other option, the option that we had next, okay, this will download the appliance. Okay, it will be very straightforward. Okay, you don't have to really install. It will come pre-installed. It will be a ready-made virtual machine. Okay, but I'm just going to show you the step-by-step installation also, so that you get a lot of clarity how this works. Okay, for this machine, okay, so they have given some guidelines here. Okay, let's go and check that. It will be very high size. Okay, they will ask for 4 core. Okay, they are asking for 2 socket with 4 core, which means 8 virtual CPU. But again, we have just given 4 vCPU, that is okay, but there will be some warning, because like we have not given 8 virtual CPU, and 16 GB is fine. They are asking for 300 GB capacity for the caching alone. It is going to copy a lot of machines, right? So should have, if you are migrating up to 100 servers, then you need this capacity. If you are migrating from 100 to 150 server, you need this capacity. If you are migrating more than that, okay, then it will exponentially increase. Okay, so that is fine. Okay, there will be some warning, because like we have not given that much amount of capacity. The minimum requirement is 8 virtual CPU and 16 GB. 16 GB is there, but we don't have 300, we don't have 8 virtual CPU, but it will work. Actually, it will show some warning, but it should work. Okay, let's go to that other VM. Okay, so it is the option that we are going to go through. It is asking us whether we are going to install the configuration server and the process server together, or we are going to add additional process server. So if you have more than 100 machines or more machines to migrate, then you can keep on adding more process server. It is the same unified setup which you have to run, the same setup. Okay, I'm just going to install the first configuration and process server. Click on next. And on the back end, it is going to install MySQL Community Edition. Earlier, like 2-3 years back, they used to give Microsoft SQL Express, but now even they went for Community Edition, open source. But what is the purpose of this tool? Okay, this is going to act as a configuration server, right? It is going to collect all the machine information which we are migrating from the source. So it will collect all the data of these machines and it will store it here. Okay, that is the reason we need a backend small database, this MySQL Community Server Edition. Okay, it is asking for site recovery registration key. Where we can find that? So you have the option here. You can go and download this key here. Okay, let me click on this key, or I can just copy the link, or let's download and copy. That should be okay. It is just the same similar option that we used for backup, right? Same credential kind of thing. So this is the option that we are going to copy over to my machine here. I'll just paste it on the desktop. This is the vault credential that will be useful for registering this configuration process server into the Azure console. Okay, I'm just going to select that. Go to the desktop, select that credential. This is the kind of same exact credential, private, public, private key combination, same like that. Okay, they have given us the private key and Microsoft will already have the public key. Based on that, they will authenticate us. Okay, they are asking us whether we have a proxy server in between. If you have a proxy server in between to connect to the internet in your organization, in your on-prem data center, you have to give that proxy server detail. Here, I don't have any proxy server in between. Okay, it is checking the capacity. There will be some warning for the minimum CPU because I told you, right? It is expecting us to have 8 cores, but we have got how much? 4 core. Okay, so this is the warning, but that is the warning only. Okay, so we recommend 8 CPU for performance. Again, capacity also they are saying we have got only 100, but they are expecting us to have 600 GB. Okay, but that is all warning. Okay, there should not be any errors. Okay, warning is all fine. Here they are asking us to change the IP address to static because we have a dynamic IP address. When the IP address changes, it will impact the migration, right? So we can go and fix these things. If you have really more capacity, you can go and increase the CPU and increase the storage capacity and also change the dynamic IP address to static IP address on your network card. But I don't want to do that because like this is all just warning. Okay, so I'll just give you a screenshot of this so that you can also refer it later. What are the different steps involved? So as part of your Microsoft Azure Recovery Services Unified Agent, these are the steps that are involved. I'll just paste it somewhere at the bottom. You can refer it later. Okay, click on next. Now it is going to ask us a password for your database. I'll just give some password. Okay, it is giving some guidelines at the bottom. Okay, at least one letter, one character. Okay, we have followed that. Okay, it is asking us, do you want to protect VMware virtual machine? No, we are not going to protect any VMware virtual machine. We are going to do AWS or physical server option. And if you're selecting VMware option, yes, it will ask us the vCenter detail. Okay, so that is the difference. Okay, now I'm just going to install this on this particular C drive. If you have created a separate drive, D drive or E drive for this installation, you can change that particular drive later. Okay, so I'm just going with the default C drive. And if you have any specific replication VLAN in your organization on premises, you can go and choose that specific network interface which you are using for on premises migration or the source migration. Here I don't have a separate network card for production traffic, replication traffic, or migration. I have not created any separate VLAN. Okay, I'll just use the same VLAN. Okay, the only port that will have to be open is the 9443 port. Okay, which we already discussed, right? Let me copy that. So this is another important step. Okay, fine. Now let's go and click on next. Unable to fetch IP address. Okay, let me select whatever the default one. Okay. Now it's going to install it. It will take some time. Okay, it will first download the MySQL from the internet, and then it will install. It will also install the IAS role for the migration to happen. Okay, it will take some time. It will take at least 5 to 10 minutes minimum. Okay, let that run on the back end. Okay, done. We also save this file. Okay, we are dealing with something. Oh, okay, it says Microsoft Azure is unable to complete all install time operation. For more details. Okay, it has failed to download. It's unable to contact dev Microsoft SQL MySQL. Please check if firewall is blocking. Interesting. Internet is working, and that's interesting. Okay, let me just go and trigger it again. Okay, what was the message we got? Okay, let's see that. Okay, let me check the location. Okay, done. Direct download link. Click on this. Okay, it is able to download with direct download link. Okay, let me try one more time with the option here. Else we will go and do it from our side. Okay, this is all fine. Oh, restart this pending. Okay, no restart pending. Okay, fine. Good. Let's give some password. At least one special character, no spaces. That is all fine. No. Click next. Install. Select the network card. Stop. Download MySQL. Approximately 5 minutes. Interesting. That's not good. Okay, let's go and try the one which we downloaded, and then let's try to install this. I'll install the full option. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, no. Let's do one thing. What is the error it gave? Failed to download Microsoft MySQL as the setup is unable to contact this location. I don't know if AWS has blocked the access. Control C. It's perfectly working. I don't know. Refer to this log. .NET install, .NET framework, trace is done. Trying to prerequisite file does not exist. MySQL. Credential. Okay, it is going through the same exact step. Okay, it is looking for some size. Okay, this is all good. Succeeded. 443 is fine. MySQL failed. Download file. Unified setup install. MySQL failed. Aborting the installation. MySQL status in failure. Checking. Something wrong with MySQL. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's not do this. Okay, I'll also add that local service account. Okay, that we can do a little later also. Let us go and select this option. Manual MySQL installation for Microsoft Azure. I've done at least 100 plus migration using this tool. This is the first time I'm seeing an error with MySQL download. Set up the configuration further. Okay, deploy the configuration. Okay, not this. Try that. It's good to have some challenges like this so that we learn a little more extra. Okay, software requirements. Yeah, so here it is. Development to complete MySQL. The download URL might be redirected to CDN URL. Ensure. Okay. Let me check the security group, but it is able to download manually, but it is not able to download through the tool. That is the only challenge I'm seeing. Okay, MySQL should be installed. You should manually then refer to configuration settings. Okay, this is what I was looking for. Yeah, it should work like that. Okay, whatever we are seeing is the normal option. MySQL. Do they have any article? Okay, this next. No, they don't have any error article, but I can just go and check this one. Yes, download manually. Okay. Yes, download, and then they are asking us to put it in. Okay, so here we have to copy it to this location. Yeah, that is where we have to be careful. We cannot do just like what we want to do. Okay, close this MySQL installer and then copy that, downloaded, copy it to the temporary location of the ASR setup. See, the reason we are doing this, the installer, the Microsoft Unified installer will go and look at this location, whether the setup has already downloaded. If it sees this file here, it will skip that. Okay, that is the intention that they are trying to do. After you accept the terms, select download and install, the portal says already installed. Okay. Okay, can I download and install manually? Okay. Can I avoid download of Microsoft only? Yes, okay, you can place that. Okay, now let us try that, whether Microsoft skips that particular path, particular step. Okay, let's try our luck. But I'm pretty sure there is nothing blocking the access to the internet, because we were able to download the tool. Okay, let's try this. Select the credential, click next. This is all fine. But if you are able to change it to 8 CPU and 600 GB, these errors can go off. No. Click next. Next. Click next. It should skip actually. Wow. Okay. Now it is failing on IAS. Okay. Why it is something is not correct in this one. Aborting. Checking. IAS installation status failure. Setup is unable to install IAS. The role service or feature name is not valid. PowerShell ISC. Installing IAS. MySQL download log. Setup is unable to IAS. The role service or feature. PowerShell ISC is not found. What is the OS version? I missed to do that. Check that. Bin version 2022. Okay, 2022 is fine. Okay, so IAS installation file aborting. Okay, now we are able to go past this. There is a trick that we learned now. Okay, if you are putting this installation download file under the temp location, it is helping us to go past this one. Okay, now IAS installation is interesting. That I'm not sure whether it will allow us to manually do that. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go and check the outbound security group configuration. Okay, we are using this security group. Let's go and check the outbound rules. All traffic. Yeah, this is all fine. There is nothing blocking us. So something wrong with this one installation. PowerShell ISE. That is PowerShell ISE is not there in the latest version, right? I don't know. Microsoft installer is having a very old option because I don't think the PowerShell ISE and all it's there. They have deprecated the PowerShell ISE, but they are trying to install PowerShell ISE. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go and IAS installation. Yeah, let's try and install the IAS configuring Internet Information Services. Okay, let me do another step. Let me go and give more permission for that service account. The service account, I'll make him a member of administrator. If I log in with this account, then a lot of issues can be avoided, but this is not the primary issue anyways. Okay, let me go and try to install the IAS manually. Something that is blocking. I don't know if AWS have changed any settings. Okay, let me go and install the IAS. Because they are going to give us a browser-based replication option. Okay, so once after you complete the installation, you'll get a screen open using your IAS web server. You'll be able to select the server, migrate, and all those things. So let's see that. Okay, I'll just go with the default IAS settings. It did not even try to install it. That is weird. Okay, let me go and install it. Now let me go and run the setup again. They should at least give the option to retry. Okay, let's give it a minute to start and complete the installation. Okay, I'll delete the second unwanted image. Okay, installation is going on. Let me try to start now. Okay, accept, next, the key, next. Installation is succeeded. Meanwhile, this is all done. We can close that. So this is all checking for IAS required configuration. This is all okay, but I think at that stage, it is not able to do. Okay, this is the first time I'm just seeing these many challenges in the screen. No, next, next. Select the interface, click on next, install. Validating server configuration is also failing, right? Oh, I cannot go beyond that configuration. If it really demands that configuration, we can go and change that. Okay, let's see. Or no. Configuring Internet Information Services feature is failing. Just give me a second. Let me try this. Okay, see, this is what the trick that we did. Okay, it is already existing here. This has passed. Setup is unable to install IAS. Argument not valid. The role service IAS installation failed. Aborting the installation. Why it is trying to install PowerShell ISE? This is weird. Okay, let's do that. PowerShell ISE is already here. There is nothing like that, right? This is the same exact message we are seeing there also. This is the step that it is trying to do. The role service or feature name, why it is trying to do this step. Okay, let me do one thing. Okay, I'll create one more server, which is Windows 2019, because this is the first time I've just loaded with Windows 2022. Okay, that is very latest operating system from Microsoft, right? So let me create one more parallel server to avoid delay. Okay, let me also check the configuration requirement, whether they support Windows 2022 or not. Oh, they don't have that in their list as of it. Okay, so this is what they are saying. Okay, possibly, yeah, I went with very latest OS by not properly checking the prerequisite. Okay, so we should not make the same mistake again. So let me launch a quick instance. I'll go with 2012 R2 or 2016. Those are the only supported list as per Microsoft, which is not good actually. Microsoft should stop support their latest flavor of operating system. I'll go with 2016. Okay, I'll just go with T2 extra large. I don't want to waste time in changing it later. T2 extra large, T2 extra large. Here it is. I'll select the key pair. Stan, this is the one, right? Stan, North Virginia, December, yeah. So I'll go with the existing launch wizard. I'll go with 100 GB, click launch. Okay, let that get created and I'll just go and decommission this one. Yep. Okay, meanwhile, while this is getting installed and kept ready, I'll duplicate the screen here. So we are already 1 hour and off. Okay. Now we have created one more machine for the database migration, right? So let's see. Let's copy this and then try to do some activities here while that is happening on the back end. At least you guys will be very careful when you are doing the migration. Now you will know that the operating system version is becoming a big challenge. So yeah, always we have to go through that prerequisite very properly. This is where we missed out. Okay, fine. Listen. Okay, well, I'm going to create some databases on this machine and I'll show you how to migrate database from server operating system to Azure database. Okay, that is again one more migration scenario which we are going to see today. So while that is happening, I'll just prepare the source side. Okay, I'll just disable these. Okay, close that. Go to server management, or sorry, this one, Azure SQL. Yeah, so SQL Server Management Studio. You can also use Azure Data Studio. I think during the database class I showed you, right? Data Studio is a beautiful tool. Okay, let this load. Meanwhile, what happened here? Refresh, have the server initializing still. I know it will take some time because we have given a lot of capacity and stuff. Yeah, this is also taking some time to load. Okay, copy the IP address. See, here it says running, here it says initializing. So which one to trust? No, here it is instance state is running only. Okay, let this log in. So we have not generated the credential yet. We'll go and generate that. Stan, North Virginia, December, decrypt, password, update this password to this. So we don't want to change the name and all, okay? We'll go with the default name. Okay, again, it will take some time if you are changing the name, restarting. If you want to do it properly, you can do it. Okay, let it leave it with the default name. Okay, with the EC to Amazon, whatever name. Okay, that's fine. Now what we need to do is we need to download that installable first. So where is the link? So we need to copy the download option, copy the link address. We need to download it from first. This one doesn't have the Edge browser. So we can directly download the Chrome. Okay, in 2016 and all, we don't have the Edge browser. So this will definitely ask a lot of questions to allow us to download. Okay, we can disable that. At least this one will be straightforward in older operating system. We don't have to go multiple areas. Now close all these things. Close this, download the Mozilla browser. Sorry, download Chrome, Google Chrome. You can also download the Edge browser if you want to, that is fine. Okay, let me run the installer. Okay, downloaded 1.9 GB setup. If you're downloading it in your machine, it will take some time. Okay, 2 GB, the installer. Okay, I think we can also download that credential, or at least we should have. Okay, I think, okay, I have a copy of that key here. Okay, that is one thing which is less step. We have downloaded it locally and then we copied, right? So we can copy that vault credential. Fine. Download is complete or what? Download is complete. Run that. Yeah, run it. I'll go with the default name. Okay, so if you want to change it, you can change it, but I'll go with the default EC2 Amazon whatever name, because this is going to be a temporary server only used for migration purpose, right? But in real time you can just give it a meaningful name to identify, but here I'll just go with the default name just to save some time. Okay, click on next, accept the agreement, click on next, select the key, desktop, select the project credential, click next, click next. For checking connectivity, it takes this much time, huh? Okay. Let's say internet settings. We have downloaded, right? But why it is taking? Is there any DNS issue? No, right? So it is checking some connectivity to some internet sites, network requirements. Okay. Fine, that is fine. Okay, it will not ping, that's fine. Okay, but MySQL is pinging. Okay. Unable to connect to Azure Site Recovery, enter the proxy details provided or incorrect blocking. Something is problem in this firewall. I don't know, maybe whatever we did earlier also, it at least went little ahead. Okay, let's do one thing. No, something is not correct. So it says you are not connected. Azure proxy. Here it is able to download. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me copy this, and then if it gives the same error, we will try and copy it to the same temp location. I think it might give the same error because it showed that error, right? So no issue with the operating system or what? Okay, let's see. It is taking some time. When we are downloading it directly, it is downloading very quickly. Okay, if it is giving the same error, we'll okay, something unusual with the AWS side. Okay, let me copy this installer to that location. So which location we did copy? Do you guys remember where did we copy that? ASR, some location, right? ASR. Okay, let me check that. So go to the failure status. There is no firewall, there is no, okay. See program files ASR, I think temp, right? If I remember it right, it is creating a temp directory. Under that we have the ASR folder. Okay, here only we copied last time. Okay, fine. So here we'll paste that. So if this is not working, we'll at least try the database migration, and then we'll fix that issue with AWS side. No, we don't want to install it. We can just close this. I installed it by mistake. Let me close this. Yeah. And during the weekdays, I'll also record one more demo on how to migrate it from on-premises VMware environment to Azure. Okay, so that you also see that. Okay, let's see whether it is able to install the IAS this time. If this is also creating problems, then there is something issue with the AWS side. Okay, let's not stare at that screen. Okay, let's go into the other window here. Okay, let's at least try our luck with database migration. That will be a very quick thing. Okay, database migration is very easy. Okay, I'll create some database here. Okay, we'll call it as December batch database 01. I'll create, okay, I'm just creating a new database. Okay, and this database, I'm just going to create some tables. I'll give some columns here. Number, data type is numeric, name, data type, some text is fine, or even character is also fine. Okay, and then city, something like that. Okay, some free text. Okay, I'll just have some table here, some data. I'll name this as weekend batch 01. This is the table name. And on this table, I'll add some value. Edit top 100 rows. I'll give some number names here. I'll call this as Karthik, Chennai, number 2, this one, UAE, 3, Netaj. Don't worry about the locations and all. I'm just giving some random here. Okay, I've just saved this. Okay, we have some table, we have got some database. If you want to create one more table, that is also fine. Okay, so this is like number, name. Okay, save. Sunday, class 01. Okay, something. Okay, I just want to have a couple of tables. Okay, if you want to have some import, some sample databases, you can also import that, but that is fine. Okay, here we can create our own. Okay, interesting. This is progressing this time. It has gone past the second step, which is interesting. So some green signal. Okay, let that go on the back end. Okay, we will not see that. Okay, so here I've got a database which is on my one of my server. Okay, this server can be in AWS or your own data center or somewhere. Okay, I've got a Windows server having a Microsoft database. I want this database to be migrated to Azure database. Okay, as a service, platform as a service. So this is another scenario which we are planning to try in parallel. Okay, I've got a Windows SQL database to Azure database. Okay, you can also do heterogeneous. Okay, I'll give a demo on that later. Okay, how to do a heterogeneous. Heterogeneous means from Oracle to Postgres or from different third-party to Microsoft Azure. Now it is Microsoft Windows SQL Server to Azure database, right? So Azure SQL database, but this is homogeneous because it is Microsoft SQL to Microsoft SQL. You can also do a cross conversion also, but I'll show that later. So here we have two tools, okay, database migration assistant tool and database migration service tool. There are two different tools that you need to be familiar with. Migration assistant is going to go and assess the environment, and then it will tell you whether we will be able to migrate or not. And the second part is migration service. Okay, this will do the actual migration. There are two sub tools or two different things. Okay, let me go and show you that. Okay, this is progressing good, and we'll go to the other server. Here on this machine, I'll install that database migration assistant tool. Okay, let me go to my okay, this server doesn't have Google Chrome, right? We have not installed that yet. Okay, I'll install the Google Chrome quickly. This database migration is very straightforward. Okay, it is very easy to do as well. Okay, it will complete in 10-15 minutes, so you have something to see and cheer up. Yeah, so let's say, so meanwhile I can show you how we need to prepare ourselves in the Azure side. In the Azure side, I can create a separate project for databases. Okay, or if I want to use the same project, I can use the same project. But if I want to create a new project, I can create it. I'll call this as what do you call Windows or on-prem database to Azure SQL database 01. Okay, some name. Okay, and if you want to do it over the internet, that's fine. Click on create. So if you want to download the Microsoft database migration assistant tool, you can directly download the latest version. But if you want to go with the Microsoft preferred version in the project, you can also use that. See, they are giving the option here, download the DMA. You can better copy this link and download so that it is compatible, unlike our earlier attempt. You can also download it directly, but I'll go with Microsoft's Azure recommendation option. So again, same version only, 5.7. So what is the purpose of this tool? This tool will do an assessment of your existing on-premises database, and it will tell you whether the migration has got some compatibility issues, or is there any particular feature that might not work after you migrate to the destination Azure platform. And if you provide this assessment report to the application team or the database team, they will tell you like whether that function or that particular feature is really important for them, or whether we can go ahead and ignore that. Okay, so that is the purpose of the assistant tool. It is going to do a assessment of your existing database, and it will tell you whether all the existing versions is compatible, or there any features that will be missed out when you are doing the migration. Okay, so that is the first step that we are going to do. So we'll go and download that. And again, system requirement, yeah, at least 2016, 2019, this is good. They are given support for 2022. Unlike our server migration tool, the database migration tool is supported on 2022. This is something I'm happy about. Okay, click on download. Okay, install this migration assistant. This requires .NET framework. That is fine. Okay, so we can install .NET and all. Okay, install Microsoft .NET framework 4.8. I think there is a version that comes by default with your operating system. You can also go and install it as part of your server manager. So here, if you want to do some development activities, you can download the developer pack, but I don't want to do any development. I'm just going to do the runtime only. I just need the .NET framework 4.8 runtime. Are you a software developer? No. I have read, install, close. Okay, so this needs .NET framework 4.8, because like when you're going and creating a change request, we need to provide all these details, right? What are the other tools that needs to be installed, what kind of server we need, and all those stuff. So we can you install this tool on the same server, or if you want to have a separate server on the network, you can also have a separate server for your database migration service, DMS and DMA. Okay, installation is going on. How about the other one, server migration tool? Wow, okay, no, so far no red. It's installing the configuration and process manager role. But unlike it is taking more time. It's generally much faster compared to what we are seeing today. Okay, all files were downloaded successfully, and it is installing the .NET framework. I think here, if you go to your server manager in latest operating system, you also get the .NET framework, some specific version, 4.7. Okay, that might not be enough. We need 4.8. Okay, so here with operating system, you are getting 4.7 by default. Okay, we have downloaded 4.8. Okay, that is good. Okay, we have done the right thing. Okay, let it install. Now the next step is to go and do the database migration service. Okay, if you look at the console here, the first step is to download the migration assessment tool. Okay, some people call it as migration assessment, or some people call it as database migration assistant. Okay, both are okay. At the end, it is DMA tool. See here it says assistant, here it says assessment. Okay, the functionality is assessment. Okay, because when we downloaded it on the internet, we copied this, right? It said database migration assistant. Interesting. So this is the prerequisite. Okay, let's go one step back. Okay, so here details. Okay, see, these are the version it supports. Again, you have to be very careful on this also. say after raising the change request, we should not find out that this particular SQL version is not supported. Okay, these are the version. It supports from 2005, which is very good. So you can migrate from any, even the oldest version that is being used in the customer environment. Good, actually. So otherwise, I think the supported operating system, you have got 2016, Windows 10 also can be used. Another interesting thing, you can do it from your laptop itself, the DMA installation and migration. Okay, so .NET 4.7.2. Oh, okay. So .NET 4.7.2 and higher is enough. So it's not 4.8. You can also go with 4.7.2. So which means you can also try whatever you have in your operating system. This is still going on. How about our this installation? This is done. Okay, .NET installation is done. Oh, .NET installation requires reboot. Okay, so in your change request, you have to be mentioning that. Okay, so restart is needed. Restart required for .NET installation. So specifically, I'm mentioning all these things because like you have to restart your server if in case you are installing the DMA tool on your source server, then it will ask for the reboot. If you're doing it on a separate machine, that is fine. Okay, then change request is not complicated because you are doing it on a separate sandbox or some jump server or whatever. Okay, but if you're doing it on a jump server, again, you need to have approval for rebooting that. Approximately 5 minutes is what it is saying, but it took more than 5 minutes. I mean, only for the installing and installing the configuration and process. It says 5 minutes, but it took more time. Okay, let it complete. How about the reboot? Is it done? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, Vivek. Okay. I mean, I do recall that, but yeah, it's long time since I installed those tools. Okay, let me duplicate this. And so what Vivek has mentioned on the chat, even if you install the feature, which is part of your operating system, the .NET feature, it also needs a reboot. Yeah. Fine. Logging in. Now we can go and install the DMA, Database Migration Assistant or Assessment Tool. So here it says assistant only. Okay, fine. So we are right. Install. Launch. Finish. 2022 version. Okay. Data Migration Assistant. Now here we need to create the new project. So there are two steps. Okay. First step is to do the assessment. So it is going to do the assessment. So I have to select the project. Okay. I can just say on-prem to Azure, and it is asking me what kind of database engine, whether you are going to do the integration services migration assessment or database migration, sorry, assessment, database engine assessment. It is asking me whether it is AWS. Even you can try this AWS option also. If you are having your AWS RDS, you can use the same tool, data migration assistant, for migrating databases from AWS to Azure also. Okay, but I'm not going to do it AWS to Azure. I'm going to do it from Windows Server SQL Server, Windows SQL Server to Azure. Okay, it is asking me what is the target. If you want to migrate it to SQL Server or SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine or Azure SQL Database Managed Instance, so I'm going to migrate it to Azure SQL Database. Okay, you can also use the same tool for migrating to new version of SQL Server also. If you have an older version of SQL Server running on older operating system to a newer operating system, you can use the same tool. Okay, this is a very good tool for that use case also. Now we are going to check about the compatibility first, and also it is going to give us what are the features that will be missing after migrating to the Azure SQL database version. Okay, let's go and check that. Okay, it is asking me what is the server name. Okay, since we have installed it on the same machine, I can just give localhost. If you have installed it on the network, you have to give the IP address or the FQDN of that name. Okay, I don't want to encrypt because we are doing it locally. Okay, so localhost December batch DB01. If you have multiple databases, you can select all those databases and add it. Okay, now I can go and start the assessment of the database. Fine. It says there is something which is having, okay, trace flag or temporarily set specific characteristics. So this option, they are saying there are two options, or like what is impacted object is two. Okay, that is two table. And they are saying one feature is unsupported. We need to talk to the team and then understand whether Azure SQL database, Azure SQL database does not support tracing of the option, trace flag option, whether that trace flag option is important for them or not. If they say okay, then we can see how to resolve that option feature, because they have changed in the cloud. They have given some other option to do that. But if customer says we are good with this, we don't want to really bother about that feature. This is not application impact. This is mainly on the database team or the database administration team. They have to confirm whether they need this trace flag feature. If they need it, then we can fix that before migration. Okay, this is the only issue that we have got. That's fine for now. Let's upload it to Azure Migrate. So it is asking me to upload it to Azure Migrate. So here I can just select which one to connect. Interesting. I'll have to, this time I'll call him, okay? Because I have to show you this migration. If it is asking for a little more things, I'll try to call him and get the credential. Okay, password is this one. Okay, sign in. My God, okay. To verify your email address, enter the email address and receive the code. 1 minute, I'll just call him and get this. Okay, I have given him a message. Okay, let it be on the screen. Okay, so if I enter this, what it will do, it will upload the assessment detail to Microsoft Azure. Okay, on the Azure Migrate console. Okay, we'll see that in a minute. I've just called him. If he calls back, I can get the code and we can proceed with this. So if you're installing it on a neutral machine, this thing is not a problem. Okay, so that's fine. Now let's see what happened to this one. Oh, very nice. So we have this server migration tool is also completely installed. Okay, at last, after a lot of struggle, but it's a big lesson for us. Like, we need to check the prerequisite very properly. So we went with 2022 operating system, and Microsoft, they have not given support yet. They should have ideally given that, because we are migrating towards Azure, and using legacy operating system is not a good sign. Okay, fine. Anyway, so we are progressing there. Finish it off. So it is giving us a passphrase. Okay, this passphrase is very, very important. You need to have this passphrase. Okay, keep it safely. Passphrase for Azure Migrate. Okay, you have to keep it in a safer location. You should not save it in the same machine. Okay, it is asking me whether I want to use the same account, or if I want to use another service account. Okay, you can use the same administrator account, but I don't want to use that. The best practice is to use a service account. Okay, what I will do is I'll also create, I mean, we already created that service account on this machine, but we have not given the admin privileges to that account. Okay, I'll just give admin privileges to that migration service account. Okay, he is calling back. Okay, let me attend it. Okay, guys. So we are lucky. Okay, we are able to reach him. He's in a different location. Luckily, he was awake. Okay, so now it is asking me which project to use. Okay, here I'll have to use the on-prem DB to Azure SQL project. See, we created 3 different migration project, right? We can select any one of them, but I'll select the appropriate one. Okay, on-prem DB to Azure SQL DB support. I'm uploading the assessment result. Okay, perfect. Okay, assessment is uploaded. So once after the assessment is uploaded, you will be able to see that in the console here. In this console, wherever we are doing, if I refresh it here, you will see the assessment details here. Okay, let it refresh. What we were doing earlier, we were trying to add this account to administrators group. Okay, guys, I mean, I know, like, I'm jumping between screens here. Okay, so go through this recording once more, so that if you have some doubts, you can get it clarified. Okay, it is, I mean, if you are doing this in real time, again, it will take more time. Okay, I have seen migrations happening over the entire weekend. People will be sitting and spending the entire weekend for just migration. Okay, so here you can see that whatever assessment we have done, all these are updated. So you can click on this assessment database instant. It will show the name of the database server IP address, and then the details. If you go one step back, it will show the assessment database, what we created, December batch DB01. So it is showing that, and it will also show the databases that are ready for migration. Which are the database? Okay, this is the one. Okay, if you have multiple databases, all the database will be listed here. Now start the migration using database migration service. Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's at least complete the database migration. Okay, so we have uploaded it. Now we can also save the assessment if you want to save it in your local machine. Okay, just for safer side. Now go to the plus icon again. Now we are going to do the actual migration. So I can select the project name. Okay, I can just give some on-prem to Azure. Okay, we have not created any Azure databases, right? So we'll create that now. Okay, let me create a dummy Azure SQL database. It's going to take only a few minutes. Okay, let me create a simple one. Stan DB01. Stan DB server 01. I will use SQL authentication. Okay, I don't want to use Azure AD authentication. That will complicate the things. Okay, SQL authentication is fine. Okay, no elastic pool is not needed. I'll go with the standard one. Okay, production is fine. General purpose 2 GB to core, that is fine. Okay, I'll go with local redundant storage. I don't want to have geo redundant. This is all fine. Okay, click on networking. Connectivity, I'll give public endpoint because we are migrating through the public endpoint. Hello. Okay, add current IP address. Okay, let me, we are going to do it from the other server only, right? We'll add it later. Allow Azure services and resources to access the services. Yes, because we are migrating through the Azure server. What is that? Azure Site Recovery. So we need to allow Azure services to access this. Okay, default, this is all fine. Okay, review and create. Okay, only additional step that we need to do is we need to add the source machine IP address as a option to allow connection to this machine. We'll do that. We'll copy the IP address of that server name. Oh, we have given very much similar name. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll copy this IP address. And here, after the database is created, I'll have to allow that IP address to access this machine. Okay, let that complete. Add a server name. What is the name of the account which we created? Migration service account. This is for the server migration. Friendly name. I'll just give some name. Password, I'll give the password. Okay. Added. Close. Now, okay, I've just given the account that should be used for the migration. Okay, what we have to do now? We have to go to this console, close these things. So you can see that it has added this host config wx common. Okay, now let's go to the console. Now we have done this installation. We have downloaded the credential. Now we are going to finalize the registration. So here we can go and select the server. Okay, okay, let's see. Let me refresh. Let's go one step back, refresh it. So we have to check whether the server is now getting listed. This is the most complicated thing. Okay, refreshing tools is done. Replication option is here. Click on this. Now it's saying, what do you want to migrate? Okay, I want to migrate the servers or virtual machine. Even you can migrate the application. I'll show you this migration of application later. Where do you want to migrate to? I want to migrate it to Azure virtual machine. Okay, click on continue. It'll ask like what are the options that you have. Are your machines virtualized? I have to select the third option, physical or other, because my machine is in AWS. Select the on-premises appliance. This is the one. EC2 Amazon, this one, CKE84HA, right? So this is the appliance that I have got on my source side. Okay, I have to select the machine. So if you have not added the installed it properly, it will not get listed. Now it is listed on Microsoft Azure side. Okay, this is the very important thing. Now it is asking what is the credential. Okay, it will take some time. We have just added that credential, that name, what is that, migration service account. It will take some time for the registration to get added. Okay, so at least now we are able to see the server. Okay, the next step, we have to see the credential here. Okay, it will take 1 or 2 minutes to propagate. Okay, this is the very important step which is completed already. Now the next steps are very easy. Okay, we are at least done with the most complicated step. Okay, what is this one? Okay, so okay, let's click on create. Now it will ask me to connect to the source server, the source database on the local host. I'll click on connect. I'll select the database, December batch database 001. Click on next. Now I have to select the target. Target is not yet ready. Target is getting ready. The target Azure SQL database. Okay, it is completed. Go to resource. The first step, you need to allow the connection from this machine, from this firewall. I mean, click on the set firewall. Here, I have to allow the connection from that particular IP address. Click on add. What is the machine IP address? 2051.244. 2051.244.41. Am I right? Yeah, 41. Perfect. So if you want to allow a range of machine, you can give a range of machine, but I just want to add only one machine. On-prem DB server or on-premises DMA server or whatever you want to give, you can just give that and click save. Okay, now going to that database server, you have the database server fully qualified domain name. Okay, you can copy this and then you can enter that here. Here you have to use the SQL authentication. If you have Active Directory or Azure AD, you can select that, but I've got the SQL Server authentication. Now I can just enter the credential for the SQL Server authentication. So since this is local, I don't want to encrypt and all. See, it is showing me the stan db01. See, on the destination, we have this stan db01 database. Okay, I'll show you that. So before migrating, I'll show you that database. Okay. Now we are trying from my local host here on my at my home in Chennai. Okay, I have to add that first. Add my local machine. Add your current client IP address. Save. If I want to connect from my home network, this is my home IP address. Okay, I've added it now. So I want to connect it from my home. So here, if I do it now, it should allow. Fine. So here, if you look at the tables, there is no table, empty. Okay, so this is where we have to check after the migration. You can also see it from this console itself. Okay, but I'll show it in the other console so that it makes a lot of sense for us. So now I have to select the stan db1, click on next. Okay, it is asking me which tables to migrate. If you want to migrate both the tables, migrate both of them. And I can generate a SQL script. This is going to create a script for us to migrate the content. Okay, so this is the script that we have got. Okay, what it is saying. So it is saying that I've got a table weekend batch 01 with 3 columns and these are the things. And so it has created a script for us. You can copy the script, or you can directly deploy the schema directly. Okay, you can save or you can copy it, but I'm just going to deploy the schema. So it has deployed it. Now I can migrate the data. So what it has done, the first step is to migrate the schema. So on the destination side, it will go and add all these things, the schema, number, name, city, all these columns, the table. Now it has added it should have added the schema here. See, it has, let's go and refresh it. See, it has added the schema, but the data is not yet migrated. Okay, you can see the schema is there. So for the first table, you have got 3 columns. For the second table, you have got 2 columns. This is the schema. But if you go and query the data, there won't be any data because we have not migrated the data. So it is showing empty. There is no data here. But now we are going to migrate the data now. First is to migrate the schema. Second step is to migrate the data. Okay, so you can migrate both the things, because like the first one is empty, we have not added any entry, but in the second table we added 3 lines. Okay, we added 3 people's name there, right, starting the data migration. Okay, perfect, done. Now you can just go and run the query again. Perfect, done. Karthik, Miss One, Netaj, all these are available here. So this is how you can migrate a Windows Server SQL database to Azure database or Azure SQL database. It is pretty straightforward. In real time, it might take more time because you'll have a lot of data, a lot of schemas will be there. The time taken will be little more higher if you're doing it in your on premises or in your office environment. Okay, so this is one area we are done. Database migration is this is how you do it. You do the assessment first, you do the discovery, analysis, and all those stuff, and then migrate the schema, then followed by migration of actual data within your database. Okay, done. Now let's concentrate on the server migration. Okay, I think we'll be able to complete it quickly. Let's try our luck. Okay, so we have already added the service account. If that service account is not getting properly reflected, one additional step that you can do is you can go to this server and then go to this here, and then not this one. There is one more console. Here it is. Configuration server, process server wizard. You can go and add one more account if you want to. Okay, sometimes if it is not propagating, what you can do is you can try and add one more account to. Oh, what happened? Where is that account? Oh, sorry, my guys. I mean, we added it on the server which we decommissioned. We did not add it on the new server which we redeployed. Big mistake. So that is the reason it is not populating. We made a big mistake here. We should have checked that. Okay, then that's fine. Okay, so Azure migration service account. So if you are able to migrate it without issues, then there is no learning. Okay, if you are going through a lot of challenges and issues, then we'll have more learning here. Okay, now I have added it. Okay, so yeah, I think now let's try that. Okay, that might be the reason it was not showing up earlier. Let's go and check it again. Go one step back. Go one step back. Click on refresh. Okay, click on replicate. What is our intention? We are going to migrate server to where? To Azure VM. Click continue. Oh, no, only refresh has completed. Okay, anyways, let's try. Okay, so other AWS appliance, this one. Oh, beautiful. Okay, migration service account 01. Okay, so the problem was very simple. We did not recreate it again on that server after creating a new server. Now you can see that it has automatically come. Beautiful. Okay, now click on next. Okay, it will take some time for the registration. Okay, so don't hurry up here. Okay, give it time. Why it is taking too much of time? Is there any other option? No, right? Registration of the configuration server is not complete. Okay, so I did not read that message. Okay, so why it is not complete? Finalize registration. Oh, okay. So you have to click on this finalize registration. So this is giving us an information. So we have to do that first. Interesting. We missed a step. Okay, so we are finalizing the registration of that server. So we are allowing this server to act as a server for migrating the existing on-premises server to Azure cloud. Okay, so we have to read all the instruction carefully. It says the registration was not fully completed. Okay, we have to register it properly, then only it will allow us. I thought the screen is taking more time by clicking next, but then this message is very clear here. Okay, so we are able to finalize the registration. So what it is doing on the back end, I'll show you what is happening on the back end. So if you go to the recovery services vault, if you go to your site recovery infrastructure, this server, the EC2 Amazon server, is getting added as a replication appliance. Exactly, you can see that. 1 second, let's go one step back. Site recovery. Here only it should be there. 1 minute, let me check somewhere. So for virtual, here it is. Okay, ASR replication. Here it should show that machine shortly. Okay, under the VMware and physical machine. So let's give it some time. It will it should have to populate here only. Okay, let's see. Registration is still going on. Oh my guys, sorry, time is, we have reached the time. We did not even take a break today. Okay, anyways, at least we are able to complete. Okay, fine. This is done. Okay, registration is finalized. Okay, good sign. Close this. Now let's click on next. Okay, let's go one step back and then come back. Refresh. See, this migration option will automatically get made available now. After the on-premises machines are getting registered, you will see the migrate option after that. Okay, it is refreshing. Refreshing is done. Click on replicate. Oh, okay. See, now I'm able to see the additional console. Okay, it says discovery is in progress. Okay, let's click on replicate. Let's say this is fine. Continue. Okay, are your machines virtualized? No. Select the appliance, this one. Okay, this is fine. Perfect. See, now we are able to move to the next step. So here it was showing that message. Now we are able to use this replication appliance. This is the source machine which we have deployed. So we have selected the source replication machine on the source environment. This can be your on-premises data center, Azure, AWS, sorry, GCP or AWS or whatever. Okay, import migration settings from the assessment. So it is asking whether you already have an assessment done. I say I'll specify the migration settings manually. Okay, I'll just select which VMs to migrate. So it is asking us, there is no VMs found on that discovery here. Okay, so what we can do is, I can go and add the machine that we need to migrate. So how do we do that? So let's go and click previous. Sorry. So this is fine. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add that machine. Microsoft Azure Recovery Services shell is there. Configurator. Okay, what we are going to do now is, okay, let me, are you sure you want to cancel? Yeah, this is fine. I don't want to do anything here. So there will be a new screen that will pop up, but it does not come. But we'll try to do this way. Go one step back. Let's see if I'm able to get the discovery option. Okay, let's give it 1 minute. Okay, so it is asking two options, whether you want to discover using a CSV file or appliance. I'll show you how to do the CSV file, but I'll just do using the appliance. Okay, it is asking me to generate a project key here. I've already downloaded the Azure Migrate appliance, so we have already done that. So here to discover, okay, this is all fine. Okay, this is a file PowerShell script. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'll just give some name here. I'll just say AWS to Azure. Okay, I'll generate a key. Oh, sorry. This is not the right way of doing it. We have to give the name of the appliance that we are using. So this is the name of the appliance. So you have to give this name. Okay, just go one step back. Click on discover again. This one, give the name of the appliance. Appliance name must be 3 to 14 characters. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh my God. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting challenge. So even NetBIOS, AWS, I mean, Microsoft NetBIOS also has this limitation, right? So somewhere we should have renamed it. Okay, so in the past, I used to rename it. But anyways, let's see what we can do now. What are the alternate options? We cannot import using the CSV file. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll try to go to this option. We are experiencing very good challenges today. Okay, let me go to my vault. Here, directly, I can just go and say, enable site recovery. VMware or this one, enable replication. Let's try this. Infrastructure has not been set up. We already done that, right? Enable replication. Let's try this. No, this is for System Center. We should have chosen Hyper-V, this one only. Exit this flow and prepare your. Okay, we already did that. Okay, let's just give it a some time. Okay, we'll try to do that. Azure Migrate. Okay, project has been created. Replicate option. Server. Okay, continue. So the challenge here is I have to add the agent. Okay, let me try what are the other options that I've got. No, I will specify. So here it is no machine. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so we have to finalize. We have already done that. We have already configured the replication thing. Now we have to download this mobility agent, okay, on that machine which we need to migrate. Okay, what we can do is there are two options. We can do an assessment and add that server to the console here, or else we can directly go and download this agent on that source machine which we need to migrate. Okay, I can just go to this machine. the Stan web server, this one. And from here, what I can do is I can go and directly get that stuff from here. Okay, so let me go to that location, or else I can just do this. I can copy it from here to here, go to the local machine, and in this path, okay, if you're migrating Windows Server, you can use this exe. If you're migrating Red Hat or Ubuntu or other operating system, you can use the respective agent. Okay, I can just copy this, or else I can okay, let me copy this and try first. Okay, this is the agent that we need for installing on the machine that we are migrating. If you're doing a VMware environment, you don't have to do this step. You can do it directly from the vCenter. Okay, you can do it this way. Okay, you can just, it is going to take a lot of time. 55 minutes is too much. Okay, I can just do it on the local network within AWS. Since this is happening through the internet, it is showing as that much time. So what we can do is we can take the IP address of the AWS machine, AWS IP address. This is the AWS configuration process server. And I can take this IP address 172.31.29 because like we are doing it locally there, right? So I can just say / that IP address / C drive, and then that path, whatever we have copied. What is that path? This is the path. C drive, program data, ASR, this repository location. Enter. It'll ask for credential. Okay, we can use that network credential that we copied. So we are copying it from this machine, administrator, or you can also use that service account also for this one. Okay, because that also has got admin rights, but I'll use this one better. You can use either of them. I'll remember the credential from this machine. Perfect. Okay, see this time I think I'll be able to copy it very quickly because it is AWS local. See, it did copied within a matter of few seconds. If you're doing it over the internet, it might have taken us close to 50 minutes. The data is only 200 MB, but over the public internet, it is taking more time. Okay, what we are trying to do now is we are trying to install the mobility agent for migrating this machine to Azure side using that replication appliance. Okay, so now if you are installing this mobility services, that is where you need to have that passphrase. Okay, that is where we need to keep that passphrase very securely. This one. So without this passphrase, you will not be able to add any machine. Okay, installing the binary. Okay, running the post install configuration. This is Microsoft Mobility Agent, which will help you to migrate any machines to Microsoft Azure. It can be Ubuntu or any Linux flavor, or even it can be Windows. Post install configuration. So after installing this agent, we should be able to see that here on this console. Azure Site Recovery Configurator. No, we already did this. Shell. Okay, that's fine. So it is taking some time. This is a unified agent. It will take at least 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, whichever machines you want to migrate, you have to install this. Okay, let this go on. Meanwhile, I'll show you one more interesting thing. Okay, so if you are trying to do an assessment using an Excel format, see, for example, in a very secure environment, customer will not give you access to go and install the agent, and they will not allow us to replicate, right? What is the alternate option in that scenario? So here, if you go and click on replicate, it gives us two options. Okay, so either you can go and use the appliance, or you can do it using the Excel format sheet, right? So let me show you how to do that. Okay, let this complete. Discover non-Azure. Okay, no, it's again taking there. I'll show you how to do that. So here, let me do a discover option. So here it will give you two options: import using CSV. So this CSV, they will give you a format like this. Okay, so this is the sample template that you will have to provide it to the customer, and customer has to provide all the details of the on-premises system that you are migrating towards Azure VM. They have to provide all the details. So I can click on this download. Okay, it will give us the template. So you need to provide this template to the customer and whoever is supporting the current IT environment. If you are already doing it, then I think you can fill in that information on this Excel sheet, whichever we are opening up here. See, currently this is the template that we have got. Okay, so now there are some sample information. Okay, so but that is fine. Okay, so these are the details that we need to ask the customer. So they will have to ask them server name, IP address, core, memory, OS version, architecture, and all these things, performance utilization of all the different areas. Okay, if the customer has already filled in that, okay, what we can do is you can close it. Okay, you can just save this one. Okay, if you want to add any additional value there, you can add it. Okay, so let me try to add some additional dummy entry there. Okay, let me add some dummy entry into that. Okay, sorry, I should not have done that. Okay, let me download it again. Let me add some additional entry. This is a very old CSV file. Okay, so the latest Excel format is it's different, right? So what I will do is I'll just add some additional entry here. I'll just say stan vm01 dot corp dot contoso or whatever, right? So skill up with stan dot online and another name. So I'll add just additional few entries here. Okay, this is how we generally get the information. And if you want to add some IP address, you can just give some IP address here. Some 11, some 12. These are all not mandatory. Okay, so whatever has got asterisk, those are all the mandatory field. Okay, 2, and then I'll give okay 2, and then give okay. So for some of our thing, I just say Linux, or like I'll go with Red Hat 7 and one Windows 2022. Let's say we have got some 2022 operating system. Okay, so these are all fine. Okay, if you want to just copy some sample data, you can just do the same. Okay, I'll just copy some sample information and then I'll populate. Okay, save it. Now I'll just go and import that. Okay, import the CSV file. So customer has filled the data. Now I'm just going to import the one which already has completed the data. Okay, import it. Now, after you start importing it, all the servers that we did in a manual assessment or manual information gathering will start getting reported here. Okay, and once after it is populated, we can say to the customer which ones are supported, which ones are not supported, for what reason. Okay, for example, Oracle, Linux and all, I think it will show error because those are not, I think some, I mean, we'll see, we'll wait and see. Okay, this is offline discovery and assessment method. Okay, you can do online method if you have an appliance in your on premises, like how we installed it. You can do it using the vCenter or your SCVMM. If customer is not giving us access, but they want to give us feedback how many servers we can migrate and what is the total cost of ownership, then we can just do it like this offline migration. So it has uploaded the content. Now we should be able to see the import progress completing. It will add the records here. So it is saying you can start with creating assessment 10 minutes after the import is complete. Okay, there will be some background work that will happen. Okay, but let it happen there. What happened to our installation? Yeah, so this is also done. So proceed to registration. This is where it will ask the passphrase. Okay, if you have missed this passphrase, then you have to do the entire setup from the scratch again. That whatever 1 hour work we did, you have to do it from the scratch. Okay, it is asking for the configuration manager server IP address. What is the configuration manager server IP address? We have to give this one. You can give the public IP or private IP, both is fine. If you have access, you can give both of them. Any of them is fine. I think port number, I think 9443 is okay. Or it is 443 alone. Let's try check that. So data port is 443. I think configuration server is open on 9443 only. If that port is not open between this server and other server, okay, invalid configuration IP. I think port number is 443 only. It doesn't use 9443. Yeah, we made a mess out of it. Okay, it's only 443. Perfect. Okay, let me copy this also. Finish. Close. Now what will happen is this server will get registered, I mean will get registered and it will show up on the Azure console. I'll show you that. But meanwhile, let's also complete the manual discovery and assessment. See, it says 12 servers has got imported, but there are 4 warning. What are those 4 warning? Click on the download error detail. So this is the report that we need to provide to customer. So we need to tell them, customer, you have got 12 servers that you intend to migrate to Azure, but as per Microsoft Azure report, there are certain servers which has got some compatibility issues. What are those issues? You can just find on the rightmost column here. It says, okay. So you have not provided the individual disk details assessment. Okay, this is fine. Okay, so there is no compatibility issue, but the customer has not provided the adequate information. Okay, that is the warning only. Okay, it is not going to be a big challenge. Okay, but this is how you have to tell the customer. If it says like it is unsupported operating system or unsupported size or whatever, you will see all those error at the extreme right column. Okay, so this is fine. Okay, this is only warning. Okay, warning, we have to inform the customer that they have provided some incomplete details, and with incomplete details we will be able to provide some generic recommendation that this much size of instance or this much sample thing. Okay, now let's go and do the assessment. So go one step back, refresh the console. So it will take at least 10 minutes to pop up all the server here. Okay, let it happen on the back end. Meanwhile, we'll go and see whether the new server that we have added using the appliance is available for migration. Okay, click on next. I know this is very complicated. You'll have to watch the session again very slowly, okay, so that you get to understand the overall flow. And if you understand this, then you can add in your resume that you have tried migration. Okay, it will show up sometime here. Okay, let's wait for that to complete. It will have to come here. Select machine learn how to discover non-virtualized or other machine. What happened? So we have added this. Okay, we have installed it. Okay, replicate. Okay, fine. Okay, it should show up. Okay, we'll wait for a couple of minutes. Yeah, this is the option we are trying. This is fine. So it should come up here. Can we do a refresh? Okay, let me do a refresh. Wow, so these details are already available for our assessment. Okay, 12 server, 3 Linux, 9 Windows. So all these are available here. But let's try to migrate it first, and then we'll come to the assessment part. Click on replicate. This is fine. Continue. Generally, that discovery and after discovery assessment takes some time, at least 10 minutes, but it has come quickly. So here I'll specify. Okay, it is taking some time. Here we need to see that source machine, the Stan web server. Okay, it will give some time for that to come here. Okay, so hopefully we are trying this correct one, Azure. Yeah, right. So here, see, this is how you will have the complete report. Okay, after discovering and assessing the data, now you will see like dependency analysis. Dependency analysis means which one is connecting to which server, web server to database, application to database. So you will get a complete dependency scenario. So here you can go and do a assessment on where you are trying to migrate, whether you are trying to migrate to the Azure VM or Azure SQL. We have already tried the Azure SQL already. So if you're trying to migrate it to Azure VM, it will give us a assessment report now. Okay, so you can just say 4 out of 14 is actually warning because we don't have enough data. But click on next. It says it is giving us some option. Let's see what are the options we can see. Servers discovered, imported server. Okay, click next. So this is the complete list we have imported, right? VM1 and all this complete list. We have got 2 pages. We have added these additional things. Now I can select which server I want to migrate. Okay, I can select all. If I want to ignore something, you can ignore it. Okay, I can just give it a name. I can just say on-prem to Azure migration group. Here assessment, I can again give it the same name, on-prem to Azure assessment 1. Click on next and create a review assessment. So now you can share this assessment once it is ready with the customer. It will give you the complete pricing, okay, with 3 years reserved pricing. So customer can now look at the information about the total cost of ownership, and they can start deciding whether it makes sense to them to migrate to cloud, or they want to continue with their on-premises. Is being completed. It will take a few minutes. Okay, no worries. We'll give it some time. Meanwhile, what is wrong with this? Why it is taking so long? Give it a refresh. I don't think we need a reboot on this source machine, but if you reboot the source machine, it might work a little faster. But I don't want to do that because in real time we will. Oh, okay, good. Discovered servers 1 at last. If you click on that, it should show the Stan web server. Where is it? Where? Okay, let's go and try it. Click on replicate. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Stan Web Server 01. Okay, at last we have got that source machine on the Azure side. We can select, click next. It is asking me where to migrate. I'll select the Stan resource group. If you want to have some SQL registration, you can select it. I can, if you have an existing Windows Server license, you can select the Windows Server license. I don't have it. And I can go and choose the existing network, or I can create a new storage account, or if you have an existing storage account, I can select all those things. So here on the destination side, if you have an existing storage account or existing network, that will be good. As I told you yesterday, we need to have a, it can be create, or you can, it will use the, it will use default, or it will create a default one for the storage account. Okay, and you need two network, two VNet. Okay, one for testing, one for production, because like if you want to do the test failover, we need to do it on the test virtual network, and actual cutover we can do it on the production. Yesterday we saw that, right? Doing the test failover first, and then actually doing the actual failover. So it is asking whether you want to have some availability zone options and all those things. I don't want to do anything there. Click on next. It is asking me what kind of compute size I want to choose, whether I want to have A1 or T2 micro or whatever. I'll just go with automatic. Automatically it will select B1, I guess, because we have got T2 micro on the source. If you want to change the Azure VM size on the Azure destination, you can change it. Click on next. So now it asks me which are the disks that I want to migrate. Okay, it has got only disk, OS disk. If I want to change it to a standard SSD or standard premium, I can change it. Okay, I'll just change it to standard SSD, and it has got one OS drive. If you have multiple drive, you can select all those things, or if you want to exclude any unwanted drives, you can exclude it here. Okay, so here you can just select standard SSD, click on next. So it is asking me what are the additional tags that you want to add. If you want to mention some additional tag like AWS to Azure replicated machine, or some cost center, or whatever tags you want to add, you can add it. Now click on replicate. Done. Okay, so we have started replicating the machine from AWS to Azure. So once after this is migrated, it is exactly the same exact step what we saw yesterday, from one region to another region. Okay, so to do that, it took us 3 complete hours. Interesting. But again, we came across very important things that we missed to look at the prerequisite of the migration. So always when you are doing the prerequisite check, always go and look at the documentation, whether these versions are supported, whether what are the conflicting roles on that machine, and if there is any active directory group policy that is going to prevent our migration. So these things are very, very important validation, prerequisite checks. And this capacity is fine. Okay, so if you are doing it in real time, you will get this capacity because customer is going to approve with creating the VM with the required size. Yeah, so these are all very, very important things that you need to properly check while you are migrating. Okay, so it's going on. Okay, happy about that. So this discovered machine is getting migrated. You can refresh. Now you should start seeing the migrate option here. It's already going on. Okay, where we can check that. If you go to your vault, you will be able to see the replicated item here now. Now this is fine. This is CN web server, which we did yesterday. So it will come up shortly here. Okay, let's wait for that. So Azure migrate, servers getting migrated. So this is the one discovered. So it's already going on. Okay, we don't want to do anything specifically. Okay, it is enabling the replication now only. So let's give it some time. So any questions from anyone? I mean, I know that this is the most toughest topic, but if you do it once on your own, you will you can showcase that you have got migration experience. Yeah. So we have done two things today, okay? We have done database migration, and we have done server migration from one cloud to another cloud. And maybe during the Christmas leave or time, I'll capture application migration also, so that you can add, you can also have some visual feeling about that. So now while this is happening, okay, it's enabled the replication, it's starting the replication. Now you will start seeing the protected item. If you go to the vault, you can start seeing that this is getting replicated. So how we can check the same exact procedure that we did yesterday? So go to the machine, go and check whether there is a good amount of network traffic, how much is the capacity on the AWS side. Yeah, good amount of data is copied over 1 Gbps. Okay, Azure gives us very high capacity, but they are giving only 1 Gbps. Maybe if I go and select some higher size instance type, it should have given us more network speed. But again, if it is copying 1 GB per speed, I mean, that is fine. It is okay. So let me also go and check in the task manager. Yeah, good amount of data is copying over. There is good amount of traffic. So how do we verify that? Okay, if you look at here, if some firewall team or if someone is asking from your organization, what are the ports that are being used? Netstat-an. So from your actual migration server to the configuration management server, you should start seeing some ports that are open here, right? If you scroll up, you'll start seeing that. Okay, if your network team or firewall team is asking, see, you can see that from this IP to 205. What is 205? 205 is your configuration process server, right? So from your stan web server, which is this IP, from 98 to 205, you can see that there is a established traffic. What are the two port? 443 and 9443. What is 445? 445 is SMB, which we copied through the network, right? We did a UNC copy of the data. That is different. But these are the two ports. At the beginning of the class, I told you, right? These are the two ports that will be used, 443 and 9443. 9443 is for processing the data. 443 is for copying the data channel. Okay, you can also see that it is also copying to some remote location also, some 102 and all those things. See here, it is waiting for synchronization. This is the important thing. So if your network firewall team is asking, you need to provide that. You need to open the TCP 443 and 9443 port for migration and replication. So I think a few years back, I think 4 or 5 years back, we used to try VMware to Azure. It took us, I think, 7 8 hours. One Sunday we started in the morning, and then we went for lunch break, and then we came back, and then we continued with doing the migration of VMware to Azure. So what I'll do is I'll show you that migration for you also, but I'll do it during the week. I'll record it, and then I'll share the recording for your understanding. But procedure is almost the same. Only thing is we'll create a VM on your vCenter environment on your existing ESXi host. I'll create a new appliance and I'll use that appliance for doing the exact same procedure. Instead of using the configuration process server in AWS, I'll have to create the same on the existing on-prem VMware side, and then I have to migrate it from there. So from my home network, if I'm doing that, it took around 8 hours or 9 hours last time. So that's the reason at least we are trying from cloud to cloud, which we are able to complete it within 3 4 hours time. But if you're doing it from your home network to Azure, definitely it will run for 8 9 hours minimum. So we have done that 4 5 years back. Then only we decided not to do from on home network. And again, it is going to impact my uh, class delivery also, right? If I'm migrating 30 GB or 20 GB data, it is going to eat up the full bandwidth, and I might end up having a lot of issues with my audio also. Okay, but yeah, I'll definitely share that step-by-step procedure, the video recording for you guys to go through that. Okay, now at least the data is copying over. It's going at a very good pace. Okay, we can go and verify it here. Okay, go to my Azure Migrate server here on that discovered servers. Yeah, this is going on. Okay, we can just quickly check it here also in your vault. If you go to the replicated item, or did we select a different vault or what? So let me check the storage account if the data is coming here. Yeah, migrate. Yeah, this one. This is the one which has got created in East US. So we should start seeing the data copying here in this temporary storage. Yeah, you can see that ASR folder has got created. I think the data is getting copied in this folder. Yeah, you can see that data is getting copied in a compressed format. I told you, right? If you're using replication appliance, this will compress the data. It will compress the data, encrypt the data, and send it over. Okay, so that is the advantage of using a configuration process server. If you're doing Azure to Azure, there is no compression. But here you can see the data is getting compressed and the data is getting copied over in a compressed format, 30 GB. 30 GB is the size of my AWS server. So this is the size of my AWS system. Block storage. If you want to see that, you can go to the volumes here. This is the 30 GB volume. It is copying there. Yeah. Oh, what is that 300? Oh, sorry. The 300 is IOPS. Okay, the 30 GB is the volume here. This is the volume that we are copying from Stan Web Server. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, this 30 GB is getting copied to my Azure here. I can see that 30 GB already getting it's getting modified time and again. See, you can see that it has recently modified 8:39:55 p.m. Time is 8:41. So if I refresh, it is already getting copied. Yeah, see, it is copying. So we are good. Okay, so data is getting copied over. Once this is available, then we should be able to cut over. Okay, this is the another one which we did manual thing. Okay, manual assessment, and now you should have that assessment report also. If customer is asking, you can provide this assessment report, view assessment, and you can provide this assessment report. Okay, click on this. So they are saying 4 machines are ready for Azure, 8 machines are ready with conditions. Okay, no machines are not ready. I mean, we are good actually. So total of 12 machines. So they are saying monthly you will have to pay $181. Okay, this is the export assessment that we need to provide to customer. The cost details is available here. The split up of each of the machine you can see here, how much it is going to cost monthly basis. Okay, and how much the complete overview. You can provide this assessment report to customer now. Export this and it will give us in a format, Excel format. This is at least very good because XLSX format, whereas the importing format, it is still CSV. So now we can provide the customer that out of your 100 server, some servers you can migrate it without any issue. Some servers we need to, there are some conditions which we need to look at. It gives you a very good report. Okay, so Azure VM readiness, cost. Okay, it gives you a lot of information. Okay, it gives you what are the size that we are recommending, how much is the, it gives you enough information to talk to the customer. Okay, assessment properties, a lot of information. Okay, so this is how you can provide a assessment report to the customer, and if you are a migration architect or a migration lead, you have this tool which is provided by Microsoft, which you can use for discovery, assessment, and providing the report before the migration. And we are also already seeing the migration step-by-step instruction for one of the server from AWS to Azure now. Any questions from any of you? I know too much of information dumping today, today and yesterday as well, but these are all very, very important things for you to know. Migration engineer, migration architect itself is a separate role. Okay, so if you go to some of the organization, this is a specialization skill that customers are looking at. If you are getting well versed on these areas like database migration, server migration, and these areas, you have job opportunities only for that alone. Okay, let's see what's going on. Am I audible? Sorry, I know like things are running for a longer duration. I know people might have already got exhausted. Yes, can one of you confirm? Am I audible?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right. Yes,
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Thank you, thank you. See, for me, it is 10 hours of talking today. Okay, I started my first batch at 9 o'clock in the morning, the Kubernetes batch, and I had a couple of sessions in between, and I'm talking for 10 hours now. Okay, so at least you guys are listening for 3 hours. Okay, it is 3 times more that I have talking. I mean, I've been talking since the morning. Okay, anyways, so this is there. Let's wait for replication to complete. Did we select any separate recovery services vault? Oh, okay. So we have created a new vault. I thought I used the same one. Okay, it has, we have created a new vault here. So here we have to select the replicated item. Here you should be able to see the progress. Yeah, so it is going on. Okay, Stan web server. Yesterday also we had the same thing. Okay, it will be there for 0% synchronized for some time, and after that, after a few minutes, it will automatically turn protected and exact same step whatever we did yesterday. Okay, what we will do, we will not will not watch at this. Okay, I'll continue. I mean, I'll okay, let this screen be open. Okay, I'll stop the recording for some time. Okay, maybe if you guys are okay to continue after 10-15 minutes, you can come back after 15-20 minutes, and I'll complete the session by showing you how to do the cutover from AWS to Azure. And even if you're not joining, anyways, I'm going to record that. I'll complete the overall procedure after 20 minutes or after these things are getting completed. Okay, if you guys want to stay back in the recording, I mean in the bridge, you can stay back and you can have your dinner and come back. I'll be definitely here. I'll be completing the overall procedures to show you how the overall cutover happens from AWS to Azure. So I'm going to stop the recording for 15-20 minutes, and once I see some protected status, we'll continue from the protected status. Yesterday we saw that, right? It took even within Azure, it took 10-15 minutes, but from AWS to Azure, definitely it is going to take some time. It is going to take at least 15 to 20 minutes minimum, because it is 30 GB of content, right? So it's already copying over. I was showing you that, right? It is already getting copied over, but it is going to definitely take some time. If you guys want to have your dinner and come back, you can come back and see what I'm going to convey and complete. But I'm going to complete the session by completing these steps today. Okay, so I'll stop the recording for next 15-20 minutes, and once this shows protected, I'll start the recording again and I'll complete it. Okay, so have your dinner and come back if possible, or else you guys can watch the recording for the final few minutes. Okay, so let me stop the recording. I will
This
resume the session
conference will
now.
now be recorded.
Yeah, we'll resume the session now. Here you can see that the Stan web server, which is on AWS platform, is changed to protected status now. Okay, if you look at the details, Now I can see that this machine is ready for test failover as well as the final cutover. Okay, so if you want to do a test failover like yesterday, how we did from one Azure VM to another Azure region, you can also try a test failover and then validate all the settings, whether the application is working fine and all those stuff, and then you can do a final failover. And if you want to look at some more details, if you go to the properties here, you can see how much time it took and what is the data rate, and then what is the recovery point objective. So currently there is only a 3 minutes difference between the source AWS and the destination Azure system, okay, which is fine. And you can see that it has chosen automatically B1 yes. If you want to change it, you can change it now. Here I have the option to go and edit it. You can change the size of the destination, you can change the resource group, the instance size. You have the options here, okay. And if you want to look at the properties, if you scroll down, you can also see which process server we used for migration, and then what is the source server, what is the IP details, what is the current, when was the last replication done, and all those stuff. Okay, if you want to add additional disk, or if you want to make some changes to your compute network and storage, you have the option now. Okay, you can also change it later, but now I'm just going to do a direct failover. Okay, assume that we have done the test failover already. Like if you do a test failover, it will create a new machine with hyphen test in the list here. Like we got yesterday, we had, it will create a one more VM with stan web server hyphen test. Okay, but I just directly want to do the actual failover now. So this is web server 01. Okay, whatever we are seeing here is different. Okay, this is DB server, this is CN web VM 01. These are two different systems. Okay, now I'm just going to initiate the failover. So when I initiate the failover, it is asking me no failover done in the past 180 days. It is recommending us to go and do a test failover, verify whether the application is working fine and all those stuffs. So I mean, I don't want to do that. I understand the risk, and I can, I mean, if this is a VMware vCenter based machine, I'll have the option to shut down the source. Yesterday we did that, right? It automatically powered up the source machine and then it powered on the destination VM yesterday, the CN Web VM. So similarly, if you want to power off, if you have a vCenter server which has the permission, it can go and do it. But now we are doing it in AWS. So we have to manually go and power off the source machine on the AWS side. Okay, let me click on OK. And then now it will start the failover. When you do the failover, what it will do in the storage level, if you go and look at the storage here, on the storage container, you can start seeing a new drive getting created out of the copied over content. See, it is, you can see that this is the 30 GB content. And after a few minutes, you can start seeing there is a new disk that is getting created. If you want to really look at the disk level, you can also do this way. Okay, you can just go to disks. Here you can start seeing a new disk getting created. See, this is the stan web server disk that is getting created. Okay, you can also see that there is a ASR disk. This is the temporary disk which is copied from AWS to Azure. And this temporary disk is now getting copied as a new disk here. Okay, these are the two disks. Okay, yesterday also we saw that, right? That it created a replica from the source and it created the final disk. Okay, so today also we are seeing that the ASR, Azure Site Recovery, it created a temporary drive or disk, and then from this temporary disk, it is creating a new disk. And after a few minutes, you can start seeing that this disk is getting attached to Stan Web Server 01 in Azure site. Beautiful. Okay, so now you can see that this disk is now attached to Stan Web Server. If you go and check here, you should start seeing the new server coming up here. If you refresh, you should start seeing the new server. Perfect, it is already running. Okay, now if I go and check that, if I want to verify whether that application and all those things are intact, we have to do a couple of things. Since we have migrated from AWS, this machine will not have an automatic IP address. So you can go and attach any unused IP address here. Okay, so I've got, okay, I don't have a East US IP. I can go and create one East US IP here. In East US data center, I can create a new IP address, East US public IP 1. Okay, I can just select the resource group. And if you want to have it as a zone redundant, that is fine. Okay, at the end, it has to be created in East US location for this IP address to be usable for that migrated VM. Okay, now you have the IP address. We can also meanwhile check whether you have the network security group allowed to accept 80 traffic, 80 port traffic. If it is not there, we can also try and do that. Okay, so no, there is no security group. We can also attach a network security group also. So exactly same step we did it yesterday, right? You can go and attach a security group. Okay, Stan DB server will not have that security group, but yeah, we can attach it and then update that network security group to allow 80 port traffic. Okay, here, okay, let's wait for the save to complete. Okay, done. Now you can also go and attach that public IP address on your network interface. Choose the East US one, save it. And also you can go and update the network security group to allow the 80 port traffic. Only then we can test it. Now wait for that save to complete. Okay, yeah, let's do it in one more console here. We have multiple consoles. We can go to network security group. Here it is. No, not that one. Network security group. This database one. Okay, go and allow the inbound security rule to add 80 port. Okay, add it. Fine. Now let us do one thing. Let's go and copy this public IP. We should have a public IP now. Yeah, we have it. Copy this and then go to the web browser and enter it. Beautiful. We have the AWS to Azure migration demo completed. With this confirmation, we have this IP address on the Azure side where we are able to see the website. So now we are able to successfully migrate the machine from AWS to Azure. We have it on Azure side. The AWS VM can now be powered off and you can start using the Azure side virtual machine. Okay, this is how you have to completely plan the end-to-end migration from one location, or sorry, one cloud to another cloud, or on-premises to the cloud. So with that, today we have seen two important things. Okay, this is the assessment report. So we have seen migration of database from your Windows Server to Azure SQL database, and also we have seen the complete migration of a virtual machine from your AWS EC2 instance to Azure VM. Okay, with that, we can just go and power off the AWS side of it, and then we can quickly clean it up because we have a very high sized VM that is going to eat up a lot of cost for us. Let me terminate it. Okay, so we are done, and irrespective of the source, now we can also go and complete the project also here. You can just say refresh here, and after refreshing, you will have the option to finalize and commit the migration. See, failover is completed, and now you can finish the project. You can say complete migration and you can close the project. Okay, if you want to reprotect it, you still have the option. What is reprotect? If you want to redo the migration from Azure side to AWS side. If in case customer is saying no, things are not working, and I want to use my source machine for some reason, you can do the reprotection also. Okay, this is a very interesting option where you can do the reprotection from destination to source, and so that whatever the data that has been accumulated on the destination side can be reverse migrated to the source, and you also have that reprotect option. Now I can just commit and complete the migration. Okay, are you sure you want to migrate the virtual machine and complete it? You cannot change anything later. Okay, this is fine. This will remove the machine and it will no longer be able to be protected. That's fine. Okay, I'll just going to complete the migration. Okay, with that, this is how you have to do the server migration end to end. Okay, I'll also share how to do a VMware to Azure migration very soon, and we'll see application migration also towards Azure App Services. Okay, so thank you for joining today. Thank you for listening, and we'll stay tuned for the next session. I'll stop the recording.